growing gap between my soul and my body. A value of a man was reduced to his nearest possibility. Never was a man treated as his mind. Ah, that glorious thing made of stardust. It has become truly difficult to love without getting hurt, getting hurt. Maybe I was wrong all the while in understanding. There was no urgency, but I always was rushing. Now if there's anything at all, now if there's anything at all, I believe that I can travel to the stars and know about the other worlds where loving is not so difficult. The beginning of the two lines was, of course, Kaveh's. The rest of the words that you heard me sing were from the last letter that a man named Rohit Vemala wrote to the world. Now, if there's anything at all, I believe that I can travel to the stars and know about the other worlds, know about the other worlds, know about the other worlds. Oh, Holy Father, oh, Holy Father, I cannot pretend I'm not afraid, I'm not afraid to see you again. Oh, Holy Father, I cannot pretend I'm afraid to see you again.
Ganavya! Ganavya. You can Google it, buy her albums. You can find her on Spotify. I mean, buy the albums also, but you can also find it on Spotify. Ganavya. Thank you so much, Ganavya. All right, I'm gonna read some poems. It's hard to like be like, and then I'm gonna read some poems again. But I'm gonna read some poems again. It's so cool. It's such a cool thing. And we both, neither one of us live here, but we both happen to be in town right now, so it just seems sort of serendipitous. I'm gonna read a poem called The Miracle. The only thing you kind of need to know is that in Islam, I mean, and many of you probably already know this, in Islam, the sort of like bedrock miracle of the faith was the Prophet Muhammad. Before he was the Prophet Muhammad, was just a guy who liked to go fast in a cave. And, you know, like camping, or, I mean, we camp, we're familiar with camping. He would go camp in a cave and fast. And this one time, he saw the angel Gabriel come to him, and the angel Gabriel said, "Read." And the Prophet Muhammad couldn't read. He was illiterate, like a lot of the people in that time of the world, in that area of the world. And the angel Gabriel grabbed him and said, "Read in the name, you know, of He who created you from a clot." And the Prophet Muhammad was able to read, right? And so the sort of like foundational catalytic miracle of the faith is literacy, which I've always thought was pretty cool. It's like sort of maybe like parallel to the virgin birth in Christianity. And I always thought like literacy was like a cooler thing than, I mean, I don't even know what virginity is, but like, but literacy is cool. You know, literacy is very cool. So it's not a competition. It's all great. Okay, I haven't read in front of an audience in a minute, as you can tell. But yeah, so this poem is called The Miracle. Gabriel seizing the illiterate man alone and fasting in a cave and commanding, "Read." The man saying, "I can't." Gabriel squeezing him tighter, commanding, "Read." The man gasping, "I don't know how." Gabriel squeezing him so tight he couldn't breathe, squeezing out the air of protest, the air of doubt, crushing it out of his crushable human body, saying, "Read in the name of your Lord who created you from a clot." And thus, literacy, revelation. It wasn't until Gabriel squeezed away what was empty in him that the prophet could be filled with miracle. Imagine the emptiness in you, the vast cavities you have spent your life trying to fill with fathers, mothers, lovers, language, drugs, money, art, praise, and imagine them gone. What's left? Whatever you aren't, which is what makes you, a house useful not because it's floorboards or ceilings or walls, but because the empty space between them. Gabriel isn't coming for you. If he did, would you call him Jibril or Gabriel like you are here? Who is this even for? One crisis at a time. Gabriel isn't coming for you. Cheese on a cracker, a bit of salty fish. Somewhere a man is steering a robotic plane into murder. Robot from the Czech robota, meaning forced labor. Murder labor, forced. He never sees the bodies which are implied by their absence, like feathers on a paper bird. Gabriel isn't coming for you. In the absence of cloud parting, trumpet blaring clarity, what? More living, more money, lazy sex, mother, brother, lover. You travel and bring back silk scarves, a bag of chocolates for you don't know who yet. Someone will want them. Deliver them to an empty field. You fall asleep facing the freckle on your wrist. Somewhere a woman presses a button that locks metal doors with people behind them. The locks are useful to her because there is an emptiness on the other side that holds the people's lives in place. She doesn't know the names of the people. Anonymity is an ancillary feature of the locks. Ancillary from the Latin ancilla, meaning servant, an emptiness to hold all their living. You created from a clot. Gabriel isn't coming for you. You too full to eat. You too locked to door, too cruel to wonder. Gabriel isn't coming. You too loved to love, too speak to hear, too wet to drink. No, Gabriel, you too pride to weep, you too play to still, you too high to come. No, Gabriel won't be coming for you, too feared to move, you too pebble to stone, too saddle to horse, too crime to pay. Gabriel, no, not anymore. You too gone to save, too bloodless to martyr, too diamond to charcoal, too nation to earth. You brute, cruel pebble. Gabriel, God of man, no, cheese on a cracker. Mercy, mercy. Thanks. This is another poem that was written by not me. This is a poem by the poet Justin Rovillos Monson. Rovillos is his middle name. Monson, Monson. You can find other of his work in addition to this poem online. It's a poem that I read it. I edit a magazine, and I read it. I edit poetry for a magazine. And I read it in the queue, and I really loved it. This is Justin is an incarcerated poet living currently in Michigan, and I think about this poem like once a day, especially the last line. It's called Everybody Dies. Again, this is not a me poem. This is a poem by the poet Justin Rovillos Monson. Everybody dies. Almost every man I know talks too goddamn much. All my favorite poets are women and gods. What I really miss is the pavement at midnight, my elongated shadow. There are mornings when the hunger pulses through me, when I just want to see a man die like an ox in a flooded field, where every witness is swallowed at once by a minute of silence, then continues the work of living. I just want to be alone and with you at the same time. G told me long ago she thinks I'm cold, and I responded for years by writing on shreds of paper, "My mind is on fire." She slipped them into her mouth and waited for the wet grass of a man she could love. On my sternum there is a thumbprint where you press the seed into the earth. Years ago, I stole the necessary tools to bleed my idols, and I haven't stopped drinking since that first cut. They're buried in my garden now, whispering into each other's ears, fingers wet with blood and water, combing through your hair. Two suns live behind my eyes, and while one rises, the other sets. The poet's name again is Justin Rovillos Monson. Yeah, Rovillos Monson. He's very Googleable. Two suns live behind my eyes, and while one rises, the other sets, is a line that I'll never forget as long as I live. What time is it? I didn't bring my phone. 53? Oh shit. Okay, great. I don't have orchids. I can't do it. It's very sweet of you to request. I'll do Freebird later. This is okay. Great. This is a poem called My Empire from this book. My empire made me happy because it was an empire and mine. I was too stupid to rage at anything. Babies cried at birth, it was said, because the devil pricked them as introduction to knowledge. I sat fingering my gilded frame, counting grievances like toes. Here, my mother, here, my ring, here, my sex, and here, my king, all still there. Wrath is the desire to repay what you've suffered. Kneeling on coins before the minor deity in the mirror, clueless as a pearl. That the prophets arrived not to ease our suffering, but to experience it seems, can I say this? A waste. My empire made me happy, so I loved easily its citizens. Such loving a kind of birth, an introduction to pain. Whatever I learn makes me angry to have learned it. The new missiles can detect a fly's heartbeat atop a pile of rubble from 6,000 miles away. That flies have hearts, 104 cells big that beat. And because of this knowing, a pile of rubble. The prophets came to participate in suffering as if to an amusement park, which makes our suffering the main attraction. In our brochure, a father's grief over his dead father, the thorn broken off in a hand. My empire made me happy because it was an empire, cruel, and the suffering wasn't my own. All right, I'm going to read two more poems. One is very short. This poem, thank you guys so much for being here. I know it's hot. I know it's like a ferry trip out to Governor's Island. Thank you all to all the other poets who have been amazing. I just saw a really cool South Asian women reading over there. That was incredible for all the people who were at it. You know what I'm talking about. There's been so much good stuff. Kwame put on a really cool reading over there, which was amazing. There were a lot of really and beautiful. Malcolm Tariq read there. I'd never gotten to hear Malcolm read in person before. Inam read, which was really cool. I've just been loving this. So thank you all for having me and for letting me be a part of this. Thank you all for making this extant on this zany island that exists apparently. This poem is by a 13th century. This is like how to get the party started, right? This is a poem by a 13th century Iranian poet named Sadi. Shout out Sadi. People still take pilgrimages to Shiraz, where he was from. People still take pilgrimages there to like visit. So like, you know, he was doing something right. This is my translation. It's a very short poem. Discovering a bouquet of freshly cut roses set in a vase with long grasses, I asked, why are these roses set here among filthy weeds? The grass cried out, quiet! Our presence doesn't dull their fragrance. Maybe we don't smell as sweet as roses, but we too grew inside God's garden. Shout out Sadi. All right, this is the last poem that I'm gonna read. Thank you all so much for allowing me to be here. Please, if you take one thing away from my half hour or whatever, take away that you should go home and Google Ganavya, Ganavya. It was absolutely incredible. Buy her music, support her in all the ways. Listen to her on Spotify, tell your friends. She's one of my favorite artists in any medium. Okay, this poem is called Reading Farrukhzad in a Pandemic. Farrukh Farrukhzad was a 20th century Iranian woman poet who died very. She's sort of like Iran's Plath, but like also like Iran's Eliot. Like roll those into one, and she was that. She was like a major titan. Also, I don't like speak fluent Farsi. It was my first language, but I lost it. It's a long and uninteresting story. But so there's like written Farsi in this poem, and you're going to hear me sounding it out like a 5-year-old learning to read, which is what I'm doing. Which is why I just read you like the most basic translation. So you're going to hear me, and I'm feeling very self-conscious about that in this moment. And so I'm getting in front of it by narrating that anxiety, which is one way to deflate self-consciousness, I have found. So you'll hear me reading in a language that I don't actually speak. Okay. I mean, I speak it, I don't read it, but you understand. Okay, Reading Farrukhzad in a Pandemic. The title is a lie. I can't read Farsi. Maharche Rakhe Boyad as Das Dadim, Bashem as Das Dadim. I can make out, we lose. I type it into a translation app. We have lost everything we need to lose. In between what I read and what is written, need everything. Here, the waving flag. Here, the other world. Because we need mail, people die. Because we need groceries, people die. I write, we need, knowing we dilutes my responsibility like watercolors dipped in a fast river. Get behind me, English. When I text Maharche Rakhe, Boyad as das dadim, Pashim as das dadim. To my dad, he writes back, "We have lost whatever we had to lose. Hammering pentameter, whatever we had. People die because they look like him. My uncle jailed, his daughter killed. This is a real fact too wretched for letters. And yet, my uncle jailed, his daughter killed. Waving world, the other flag. There is room in the language for being without language. So much of wet is cold. So much of diamond is light. I want both my countries to be right to fear me. We have lost whatever we had to lose."